Force in motion is the phenomenon of how things move. For example, a toy car rolls down a hill at a certain speed and has a certain amount of energy. Another example is an apple falling from a tree. As it falls, kinetic energy depends on how fast it moves. Or a roller coaster, speeding down the track. That has an immense amount of kinetic energy. For another form of kinetic energy, which is potential. Now for another form of kinetic energy with potential. Potential energy can also be called stored energy and is converted to kinetic energy in motion. So when gravity had hold on that apple, it had potential or stored energy. If that same apple fell, it became kinetic energy. Or the roller coaster. Before everybody went down the track, as they sat atop the tall peak, they had many amounts of potential energy. And then it all came out as kinetic, so they could go down a track and have fun. Force is the very cause of motion and kinetic energy. The more force exerted on an object, the quicker its acceleration. Balance forces are the very cause of an object to stand still, but an unbalanced force is what makes it move. For example, pushing a cart or a ball. Another form of energy is thermal energy. This affects motion on a more atomic level. For example, adding heat to a liquid like water will boil from the water molecules, speeding up and making more movement. This also happens with gases, and that's what causes hot air balloons to float due to increasing motion of the molecules bouncing around at high speeds, creating more motion. So now we've covered potential energy, the stored energy, kinetic energy, the energy of motion, and thermal energy, the energy of heat. Now we'll move on to just Isaac Newton made 3 laws of motion. His first law was that an object at rest will stay at rest unless acted upon by an external force, and an object in motion will stay in motion unless acted upon by an external force. So an object at rest is an example of a balanced force, and an object in motion is an example of an unbalanced force. So, we've covered many topics. Let's review. First, we discussed the different kinds of energy: kinetic, potential, and thermal. This is really just scratching the surface, though. There are many other kinds of energy, maybe even undiscovered types. Then we spoke about force and unbalanced forces. But last, we talked about the laws of the great man who discovered all these things. His first, second, and third laws. We've learned very much, and I thank you for listening. Bye.